and you guys are watching us live. Welcome everyone to the Friday Mortgage Coach Mastermind. On behalf of Dave Savage and the crew at Mortgage Coach, I am Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and we are super excited to have you here. We're going to be talking about how to wow your clients with high trust and build a long-lasting mortgage practice. I'm joined today by my fabulous co-host, the founder of Plug and Play SM. I almost said that backwards. Deborah Byrd. What's up, Deborah?
Hey, how are you? I'm super fired up to have Dino here. In fact, anyone who watched the video where I was, letting everyone know we were having him on today, I totally didn't even try to say his last name. So, Todd, since you just butchered,
Cat Siametes. Is that close?
I nailed it. I want to see the girl from Texas try.
Cat Siametes.
Pretty good.
Is that good? Cat Siametes. Except
what you do is you write it out like it would be in normal. So I wrote it out in phonetics here. So that's just a lesson when you're, and I started right here so I could look down, I glanced down and peeked at it. So
Coach Todd's got all the tricks. Like that's a coaching move right there.
Well, I had the pleasure a couple of years ago at Sales Mastery, and I dragged Dino up to the suite and spent an hour with him kind of walking through some of what he does to wow clients. And I know we've got Todd joining us as well. So he's going to be jumping in shortly and we'll be talking to him as well. How did Todd Duncan?
By the way, Todd, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Just when you say you grabbed me and dragged me up to the suite, that
sounds a little weird. Okay. It's not as bad at the other event where I had a red couch and I did the interviews on the red couch. People are a little more awkward about that one. That was in Vegas, but
we'll have to tell them about our little powwow we had at Sales Mastery where we were drugged at Todd's, not Todd Bookspan, but Todd Heath's suite. And weren't we eating like M&Ms or something?
I don't remember.
Anyways.
All right. Yeah. Back to today's action plan. So it's really about how do you build a high touch business around relationships. And, the thing that I learned from Dino is that he's really good at that. But before, real quick, Dino, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself? Where are you from? I know you've run a broker shop, kind of what your production was last year and kind of what your outlook is on 2022.
For sure. So I've been around for 23 years. I've had my share of ups and downs. And at the end of the day, I've only done one style of business, and that is relationship based. And, when I have an option of getting a lead that's from somebody that I have no idea who they are, I don't know anything about them, they don't know anything about me, as opposed to somebody that comes ready to go, that's just already in the mindset that they're going to work with me, that's who I prefer. And I had an old business coach that said, simply, would you rather just go around picking low-hanging fruit all the time from, whatever tree you can find, or do you want to just plant your own orchard, one tree at a time, and know that there's always going to be fruit for you? So that's the mindset that I've always had. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer because you got to wait for those trees to mature, but then they're there forever. And that's the kind of business I like doing. So for me, it's all about loving on my clients. And that's a strong word I've realized for a lot of men, but that's how I like to express it. I want to love on my clients, and I do truly love my clients. So therefore, it's really not that hard to do it. And that just means taking unbelievably great care of them and celebrating the fact that they're buying new houses and not necessarily allowing them to get stressed out like they think they have to be when they buy a house. As far as to answer your other questions, last year I think it was like maybe a grand under 140 million, somewhere around 300 families. And the concentration of all my business, probably 90% of it, is all within a 15 to 20 mile span in Orange County, California.
That is awesome. So how do you keep it so laser focused in such a narrow area?
I can't tell you how many times people have asked, like my other loan officers, can we get licensed in Idaho? Can we get licensed over here and there? And it's like, gosh, why do you want to go spread yourself out so much? There's so much money within arm's length of where we stand at all times here in Orange County that, why go to Texas and have an average loan amount of $250,000 when you can have an average loan amount of $550,000? So So it's really just about where you're going to set your roots, right? Where are you going to create your relationships? And if you take that time to create them in your own backyard, ideally that's the right place, then you can grow, I think, that much faster when you're not spread out so much.
So Dino, I want you to kind of talk about, I met Dino and Todd Heath for the first time at Sales Mastery just this last year. Dino got to ride I remember Denise and I got the message that we would have to show up in the lobby the morning of Sales Mastery with no makeup on, because they were going to have a makeup artist. And I was like, I sure hope we're not like going to have other dudes riding with us to, the event where before we get makeup on. I'm like, they're probably going to be scared. But anyways, long story short, that's when I first met, you and Todd, and we really kind of hit it off. I felt like instantly. It was, we were in this room and we're talking, we're obviously excited that we're able to, help Todd Duncan. And I know both is Todd Heath still in elite coaching?
Yeah.
But you shared your story and kind of your journey of, where you had to hit rock bottom, and then you kind of reinvented yourself. And so we've gotten a lot more brand new loan officers into the business. And I feel like sometimes they hear some of our speakers and they'll say things like, oh, but that's the Dan Kellers or the Denises, like, I'll never get there. That seems so far out of reach. And they start kind of comparing themselves, and they just don't know those steps to take maybe in today's day and age of how to reach that success, especially if they do want to build a business off relationships. So will you kind of talk about your story and kind of how your business was, and then you hitting rock bottom and what you did to reinvent yourself?
I'll also tell you this to motivate you, because it's really easy for somebody to say, yeah, but you've been doing this for so long. There is just some built-in business, or there's so many relationships that you've created that make it easier for you, right? And I want to just say, maybe, sure, that's kind of true, but let me tell you this. I got a phone call about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, something like that now. And it was this brand new loan officer here in Orange County. They got this deal that he was scared to do it because, he had never done loans before, and he went right into just opening up his own broker shop. And he's a good guy, so he didn't want to screw around with the client. So he calls me up and says, hey, I've heard your name. I think you're really good, and I want to give you this loan. And I laughed a little bit. I was like, what do you mean you want to give me this loan? And I go, I'll tell you what, how about if I just tell you how to do it? Because it's really not that much different than what you already know. And he's like, no, I want my client to make sure that he has the best experience ever. And I think in this situation, that would be if you just do it. And I said, I will walk you through every step of the way. So one thing led to another. He calls me up and he said, would you consider coaching me? And I've never coached anybody before other than like my own guys, right? And I said, sure, let's put something together. So we put together a little deal. I meet with him every other week. That was his first year in the business. And he made somewhere around like 70 or 80 grand. Now, granted, rates were low, times were good. He's a hustler. He did good, right? But then he started coaching with me. And in his second year, he made almost 300,000. In his third year that just finished up his third year, right? Doesn't have all the context, doesn't have everything that I have. He made about $700,000. So don't sit and tell yourself that, you don't have the years of experience and you don't have this and that, and you can't do that. Like, give me a break. This guy nailed it, just nailed it. So first and foremost, he'll say, I couldn't have done it without you, right? And all he did was seek advice and seek some help, which is, if you're watching this right now, you're obviously doing the same thing. But I'll tell you this, the biggest difference between somebody that seeks advice and somebody that does it is simply that. You got to do it. Getting a bunch of advice, reading a bunch of books, listening to a bunch of videos gives you all this knowledge. But if you don't execute, if you don't just put yourself out there and do something, you're never going to get to that next level of achievement. So then going back to me, yeah, 2008 came along. Prior to that, I thought I was perfect, right? I mean, everything I touched was turning to gold. I had 8 houses. I had a beautiful, my perfect little home, with my perfect backyard and everything else. And then everything collapsed and I hit rock bottom. And what I love about hitting rock bottom is it redefined who I really was as an individual, and also to change in a very humble way and become a much better man. And then I had to reinvent myself, not just as an individual and realize like what's important, but also as a businessman and how I'm going to get business. Because quite honestly, all of those relationships I had made prior with the real estate agents, well, guess what? They were out of business too. And I had nobody, to go to. And I had to redo everything. So I started a radio show that, one would say, how did you get started in that? And it's like, gosh, I look back and I have no idea. But when you get desperate enough, you try some pretty, impressive things and that either fail big or go big, right? And that's what kind of got me kickstarted. And one thing led to another, and I still look back saying, I don't know how to do loans any better than I did prior, but now I had the perception of being better at them than before. And I didn't go after a radio show to try and get a bunch of people to call me randomly, because I still believed more in relationships than in leads. So what I did is I built this radio show and I had people on the show as a guest, a real estate agent, a CPA, a financial planner. And still to this day, years later, I'm still getting referrals from people I met that I had on the show. So you always gotta have something, right? You gotta get creative enough to try something. And at the time I was broke, but yet this show was costing me $10,000 a month to produce. Wow. And it scared the living bejesus out of me, right? But I hustled and I found other people to advertise on my show. And I created this thing called a trusted local provider, a little steal from like Dave Ramsey, but my TLPs. And I got them to all pay me like $1,500 a month. And I had them be a guest spot on my show. Next thing you know, believe it or not, at one point, I actually was making 10 grand a month just in advertising. And I was getting business from these people that were paying me to be on the show. So it really turned out to be the best thing I did. And I'll credit Ron Quintero for that, who is no longer with us. But the man really had a lot of foresight to foresee, a different way of doing things. And that was the beginning of my recreation. And then everything kept evolving. And I'm going to just like really make a point of the thing that everything kept evolving, because if it didn't, everything would just stay stagnant. And then you get to one place and you stop, right? So don't ever be content. Be content in a way of what you have is always good enough, meaning, perspective is everything. And I can't stand when somebody has a beautiful house and thinks it's not good enough, or has a perfectly functioning car that's nice, but wants something more. Like sometimes in life, you just want a little too much. You got to be happy, right? If you can't be happy, then you're never gonna achieve success. So that's a whole separate conversation, right? But when it comes to business, keep evolving to be better, not to want more, but better.
So Dino, I want to just kind of pause right there, because I think what you said is so powerful in the fact that there's a lot of loan officers that I know have even reached out to me where maybe last year wasn't their best year. And they're kind of struggling with that. They've been in the business for a while. They know they're good loan officers. They're still making an impact. They're using total cost analysis with families, but they hear all these other LOs who get on and, they've helped maybe 300 families, or everyone else seems to be, exponentially growing, whether it's volume or units, but some people are just kind of staying still. And they it's not that they're not working as hard, but it's starting to affect their mindset of, can I do, like, I feel like I can't even get my feet under me. I know I'm a good LO, like I'm still doing much greater than average production. What would you tell that loan officer who's listening to this right now, who maybe didn't kill it in the last 2 years? What would you tell that LO? And Todd, you piggyback on that too, if there's something, because, you know, one thing that Dino did mention is the coaching and how he had a coach that helped him. And I just feel now more than ever, especially with starting off the year, but even if it were middle of the year, I know Todd kicked off a 12-week coaching program that just started this past, was it Tuesday, Todd?
Started past Tuesday. We recorded the first one, and I'm letting people in through Monday, and then I'm cutting it off.
Okay, good. Because I've had a lot of people also message me saying, is it too late to join? But you created this very affordable coaching program that could even help the brand new LO who doesn't have any production right now, where, you know, Dino it admits accountability. Like, you need accountability. You need someone, just like you did with that LO, and say, here, let me show you and I'll help you and I'll kind of teach you the way. So how would y'all both what would you tell that LO that's struggling right now by comparing themselves to other people and maybe didn't kill it in the last year?
Well, I'll give my 2 cents first. I think any LO who killed it last year or didn't, you know, we all know 2022 is going to be a year of shift. And, you know, I really love what, you know, you said, Dino. I mean, you said you have to, you know, you set your sights higher. You can't get complacent. I feel like that's what, you know, I had the same story about 2008 as you, Dino. I mean, it was a rough time. I you know, came out of it. I think I owned 5 houses. I was negative 750,000 net worth, you know, when I came out of it, owning these 5 houses that were underwater. And, you know, I thought I was great before then. I thought, you know, I was like amazing, and then realized, you know, I'm not that good. It was a humbling experience. And like you said, it made me a better human. And it also really gave me drive, right? I mean, the success that, you know, I've had that you found since then, you know, I'm super grateful for. I think it's because of the mentors and those people around me. But even along the way, as I plateaued, you know, like one year I always joke about it, and I don't mean to joke about it as a jerk, but I plateaued at a great number. I plateaued at 400 loans, $80 million for 3 years. And it was frustrating though. And it was just because I felt like I hit that mark, which wasn't really the mark I wanted, which was 100 million. And so I had to reassess myself, and then I had to throw it out further. I had to raise up that goal, raise up that standard, and commit to, you know, being way more intentional with my focus. And so I think if you're one of those people who didn't have a great year last year and you're worried about this year, or if you had a great year last year and you're also worried about this year, it's really laser focused on what are the activities you need to do today. What is it you should be implementing today in order to get the results that you want? That's always my opinion on it. What do you think, Dino?
Well, very, very similar. So what's the old saying? Do the things today that nobody else wants to do, so that later you can do the things that everybody else can't do. Right. And so when somebody isn't having as good of a year right now, it's because you weren't doing the things last year that you should have been doing. And you know, during the refi boom, it's very hard to do some of those things because you're just so buried doing loans. But if you don't, you know, purposefully make the time to actually work on those relationships, then all you're doing is just a bunch of loans. And then when it ends, it ends. Just like we've seen right now. I mean, there's so many companies laying people off. There's companies shutting down. And that's, you know, I can't help but be a little happy about it. And I'm willing to withstand some of this, you know, rate increase stuff right now, because quite honestly, I can still pay all my bills with how much I'm making and everything's okay. And I know darn well that this means a whole bunch of people are getting out of the business. And it's great, right? Like I love that for me, selfishly. But it's all because I did the things I needed to do back then when it was tough. So if you're struggling right now, it's because you didn't do it. So all I can say is, don't think it's over. Start putting in that hard work. Start having the intense focus. And guess what? It doesn't have to take years to get better. It can get better right away. And all you have to do is hang in there and have what it takes, the stamina to get through it, because it just gets better. So I have something on my board here. It says do what's best for the client, right? So that's always like my number one thing. And the next thing it says is have intense focus. So these are like kind of like my goals that I wrote down so I can stare at them every day. Intense focus. And the reason why I put intense focus is because I'm a master, and I really mean I'm a master at losing focus. I have that darn email screen up,
That's
and every time
hilarious.
I get distracted, right? So now I'm trying so hard to not look at my emails. I'm trying to just have that intense focus so that when I'm working on something, I'm going to be all in on that one thing. And that even includes, and I still haven't mastered this, but when I'm talking to a person like my wife or a friend or a coworker, I mean, gosh, why am I still looking at my phone while I'm talking to somebody? How rude is that? And I'm missing out on whatever it is they're saying. I'm not getting all of it. So intense focus. And then the last thing says, I have 80% equals money making activities only. 20% doesn't matter. Meaning, do the things that are going to make you the most money, and doing, according to Todd Bookspan here, do them by noon. Get it done. Because if you can get that stuff done, then the truth is you could go home and nothing really, like, your day has already been accomplished.
So I want to break that down a little bit. And I guess what was most eye-opening for me is when Dino and I were talking earlier this week, and we're working together on a CRM, for him, and obviously valuing the follow-up a bit, but being intentionally focused on how you follow up, because I could tell and I could feel it from him that he genuine contact throughout the entire process. Like, he didn't want anything to feel automated, scripted. And you could tell as we were going through, like, I'm talking every single step. And I thought, wow, step one is whenever, a client was first introduced to the team, Dino has a phone call with every client. He's not directing them to an application link to apply online. And I thought, well, he's helped 300 families last year. And so I just kind of want you to start there, Dino, and we'll break down, kind of those little micro standards that you've created along the way, and even, using TCAs. But what are those daily activities to then weekly, monthly, quarterly that is a standard for your practice to help optimize relationships with both partners and your client that you do, that you feel like most probably don't, but it's clearly worked and it's created a repeatable and systematic, predictable stream of income for you? So will you kind of go through your playbook?
I want to, yes, and I want to just kind of respond to something you said about not sending people a link. And this is just my own personal thing. I know there's a lot of successful loan officers out there that do send links, and a lot that just say, hey, I can't talk with everybody. Like, let's just send a link and we'll kind of pre-qual them that way. But in my opinion, like when some of my loan officers say, can we get a link? We have a link, we can use a link. But my response is always the same. If you just got a referral for a $2 million sale, would you say, fill out this link and then, I'll get back to you after you do that? Or would you like get on the phone with them and like really take care of them? And every time the loan officer says, I'd get on the phone with them, I'd make sure, I'd give them that A+ kind of service. And I'm like, well, then do that for everybody. And then when I'm putting together the CRM on Salesforce, and I'm trying to like strip it down, because CRMs can just have way too much stuff that we don't use, and it gets confusing for everybody. And in my talks with developers, right, and I ended up settling with one that I really love, and he's doing a great job, but he had to have a little bit of a shift in dealing with me, because everything he did was so used to lead gen style shops, right? That's who he always worked for. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, I just assumed this is how you wanted it. And it's like, no, that's how everybody else wants it. And here's what I said, the best way I can explain to you how I want it is this. Quicken and Loan Depot and all of these other like online big name places, I'm not going to knock them. They're fantastic at what they do. I mean, they're really good, but I can't compete with them. If I try, I can jimmy rig all of these different softwares and create something similar to them, but I can't compete with them. They are too damn good at what they do, right? If I do that style and I have to go to the bathroom, I just missed out on the lead that came in, right? These guys don't ever go to the bathroom because there's always somebody to pick up the phone. There's always somebody, doesn't matter if it's a holiday or not. So if I try to compete with them, I am going to lose. However, if I go completely the opposite way, then they can't compete with me. And what I mean by that is their CRM has all the general details, right? It even has maybe their wedding anniversary and maybe a couple extra little things that nobody that works there knows how to use. But my CRM, right, has their dog's name and their kids' birthdays and everything else that we need to know in order to have a relationship with somebody. And I got to tell you, if you can create a relationship with somebody, you can have them forever, right? I've got clients that I've had for over 20 years. And that didn't happen because I did a good job. That happened because I created a relationship with them. So I'm not going to compete with those guys. They're too good at what they do. But I know, just as a little teeny guy, I can do this much of a percentage of the loans just in Orange County, and I can make millions of dollars. They have to do a big percentage of all the loans in the United States just to break even. So, I'm perfectly happy making millions of dollars with this percentage.
So here's something I love. I think you guys should think about, right? So Dave's not here because Dave says modern advisors send a link. And I think that Dino unlocks something that I think is a best practice. Creating relationship takes time. And we all know it. If you take a 1003 yourself, you've got the time when they say, oh, I used to live in Pennsylvania. Then I could say, hey, what part? And they would say, oh, I lived in Allentown. I'd say, oh, awesome. You know what? I grew up in Yardley. And they're like, where's that? I'm like, oh, 45 minutes north of Philadelphia. You an Eagles fan? I mean, that's how you build the relationship and rapport. And then you say, awesome, any dependents? And they say, I've got 3 kids. You say, great. What are their ages? Oh, awesome. Hey, why don't I grab their names while we're at it? So this is what Dino's talking about, how he builds that relationship and what makes him different. So I just want to make sure I point that out to everyone else who's thinking different, the other direction, using the technology versus building rapport.
Well, and what's fascinating too is, Dino, he asked the very, Todd Duncan, high trust, high value questions in that first phone call. Like what is really most important to you about this home purchase? And like, what would this do? That whole, not only building a relationship, but he gets enough of the information that what he shared with me was, he could then send it to his production partner where the client doesn't even have to fill out the 1003. So it made me think of the call we had, and Todd, I can't remember which day it was, but Jeremy Forcier and Dave were talking about their Tesla experience. They had both just recently bought new Teslas and how they just completely removed the friction of the buying process. And I thought, do you know how many people hate filling out that information on an online link? And sometimes their perception of what the question is asking is not the correct way that the question's asking for the information that you need to have a very thorough 1003 for strategy.
What I tell, sometimes the client will even ask me, do you have a link or something that you want to send me? And I'm like, no, and I laugh and I'm like, if I did, there's 2 guarantees that for sure will happen. You're going to fill it out wrong, and then you're going to hate me by the time you're done filling it out. So I'd rather spare you that experience, and we'll fill it out because it only takes us 10 minutes to fill it out properly, and I want you to still like me when this whole thing is over, and it ends at that, and they're very happy about it because everybody else is just sending out links. And
you also mentioned it creates such loyalty right there out of the gate, where if there's a chance that they could possibly shop or be introduced to another lender, it's like you've already captured in the first touch so much value that it eliminates having to resell that person later, right?
I literally spend 30 minutes on the phone with every client, and that's pretty much all I do for all of my loans. I rarely touch them after that. So I don't deal with all the other stuff. So yeah, does it take a little time? But guess what? I nail that thing down, and that's all I have to do. After that, it's just done.
So then what's your transition then? So if you're only going to do that initial 30-minute phone call, then what's your script to get them to the next team member so that they don't feel like you just passed them off?
Yeah, so at the very end, I finish it with, okay, so the next step is, I took a bunch of notes, getting everything down that's important for you, right? You got to acknowledge that I heard you. And I'm going to forward them over to my production manager. His name is Mario. He's going to send you a detailed email with a list of everything we need. Once we get it back, we'll put it all together. And then we're going to create a spreadsheet for you, a TCA, right? We're going to create a spreadsheet for you. And it's going to have like 3 or 4 columns. It's going to start with the highest price that you qualify for. And then we're going to incrementally work our way down. So let's just say maybe 800, 750, 700, and 650, right? Or something like that. And that's going to show you specific numbers broken out as to what your monthly payment's going to cost. And it's going to show you what total cash out of pocket is going to be for you. And then from there, I said, we can either get back on the phone together, or you can be with Mario. And I try kind of like bringing him back in because they're going to be dealing with him a lot. And at that point, we can drill down on what everything is going to cost you. Because my number one goal here is to educate you on exactly what this process is going to look like, and to educate you on the numbers, because I want you to make a good financial decision before you go out and start looking at homes and start making emotional decisions. And that one little thing of me telling them I want them to make a good financial over an emotional decision makes them immediately trust me and know that I'm not trying to sell them on anything. Just yesterday I had one, and I asked them, I said, because they asked me a question about it. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. How old are you guys? And I know earlier you said you just got married. Are you planning on having kids? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, I'll tell you one thing. If nobody's told you this, if you have a couple kids and you have them in preschool, that's kind of like a house payment. I mean, it gets expensive, right? So I said, just because you qualify for something, I don't necessarily, want to tell you this is what you should do, because you're going to have some serious expense coming up if you're planning on having kids right away. But I said, where are you in your career? Are you going to be making more money? Are you going to be making 2% raises, or do you have the ability to make, much, much more money? And the guy was an attorney, only been doing it for 4 years. Well, he's going to be making a lot more money, right? And I wanted to let him know and give him some hope that I'm okay then personally with you pushing yourself a little bit right now, because you don't want to grow out of this place too quick when you're making an extra $100,000 in a few more years, right? But if you're a factory worker, you may not have a choice. Like, this is the house you're going to be in it for a while, and you can't overdo it, because it's not like you're going to be able to get yourself out of it with these big bonuses you're getting, because you're not.
So since we're a little more than halfway, I want to, and I don't know if Todd Heath is joining us or if he'll be coming in the last 15 minutes, but I know Todd mentioned he got this from you, this whole box in gifting and how you surprise and delight your clients, which we've heard of gifting before, but what you have done and created is like a whole nother level that I had never heard of. I have clients who will do like the congrats and pack as soon as you have an executed contract. But I mean, you're very intentional with even the boxing, the flowers that go out. So will you kind of go through your gifting program, and then the second part of that, how you rank your clients so you know where to spend your time? Because I thought that was super valuable and a great strategy that people could implement today if they hear it.
Yeah, sure. So when we get a new referral, we put them in the CRM, and everybody starts. We used to label them A, B, C, D, F. Now it's 1 through 5 stars, and we made the change just to kind of be like Google and Uber and everybody else, right? And so when we first input somebody, it immediately puts them in at a 3-star, and then from there you either work your way down to a 1 or 2 star. And the only reason why we keep that is to remind us that we don't want to do business with them again, and we don't want to market to them. But if you have the ability to be better, not just that we funded the deal with you, that doesn't automatically up you, right? You're still average just because we fund a deal with you. But if you're posting on social media and giving us props, then you get bumped to a 4-star. If you come back to us for a refinance, you get bumped to a 4-star. If you hold a position of authority, whether it be at work or church or something that I feel that could really be beneficial, like a good referral partner, then you get bumped to a 4-star. And if and only if you give us a referral, you get bumped to a 5-star client. And then we have various things that we do through the process. For example, last year I found a deal in the middle of summer for umbrellas, like no logo on them, no nothing like that, just 200 black umbrellas. And we bought them, we stored them, and then we waited. Unfortunately, we waited and we waited and waited because I was just looking for one of those, when you pull up your phone, it's like 5 days in a row of rain. I was like, when are we going to get some rain? And finally, I got one that had like 2 days in a row because we're in Southern California. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's get these umbrellas out, right?
I was going to say the struggle of the people who live in Southern California. Geez, God, it's a rough life.
So we got these umbrellas out to our, 5-star clients. And, I had 200 of them. So I started with the 5 stars. And if I had any left, I went down. And that's how we rewarded them. Lottery tickets during St. Patrick's Day, 4- and 5-star clients. And I used to send them to everybody, but at the end of the day, I got to tell you, after enough years of doing business, your pipeline or your CRM tends to grow. And then that can start getting pretty expensive. So you start segregating a little bit, right? And not to mention, why is this guy a 5-star and this guy's a 3-star and they get treated the same? You need to treat your 5 stars with better, all the time. So some of the new stuff we're going to start is 5 stars are going to get, Disneyland tickets. They're going to get, I have a cabin in Big Bear. You get to go to Big Bear for the weekend. I have a boat down in Newport. Would you like to go for a Sunset Harbor cruise? And the Sunset Harbor cruise is my particular favorite because I'm going to be captaining the boat and I get to hang out with them and their friends. Right. So that's going to be a real positive thing, but that you have to be a 5-star. Now, the trick is going to be, I actually have to let people know somehow tactfully that we grade them, because if you do let them know that, then they're going to want to be a 5-star. Right. So it's like the American Express piece, right? I actually don't want to be a black card holder because it's so expensive and I'm too cheap. But there's a lot of people out there that'll say, I want to spend that money because I want to have that black card, right? Like they're going to do whatever they can to get that black card. And that's what I'm trying to achieve here. So that's the answers to how I grade people and what that means. Also, if we come across a slow time of year and I have a lot of free time, guess who I'm going to get on the phone with? I'm not going to randomly be opening up my CRM like the yellow pages. I'm going to start with my 5 stars and working my way down, right? And I'm going to connect. That goes for the realtors too. They're not all 5 stars. Even though they refer us people, they don't automatically get 5 stars because there's pain in the butt, realtors, and there's really high quality realtors that make you some money. Now, a while back, I had gone to a Tony Robbins business mastery seminar, and I'm a Tony Robbins junkie. I do love the guy. Like, man, he just gets me, right? And he fires me up. But this business mastery seminar was awesome. And he had a lot of people that he interviewed and a lot of good things. And I came out of that redefining what I do for a living. I don't just do loans. I create generational memories for families, right? Filled with love and laughter, all while creating wealth in their sleep. That's what I do for a living, right? I give people, I'm part of a team that does it, actually. That's like my saying that I have. Anyways.
I think we need to pause just like right there, because we've never had anyone explain what they do where they tie in that emotional piece. I think I've heard people say before, and Todd, this too, with we help people build wealth and even generational wealth through real estate. But you're absolutely right, Dino. It's remembering a home is still someone's shelter, where they are creating lifetime of memories, where you have that first nursery that you're designing, or your remember your kids' first steps. Like if you think back at some of the homes that you've lived in, there's certain memories. So I love that you said that part first, because that again draws in that emotional connection and what really people are buying the home for.
Yeah. On my boxes that we give out when we send out our gifts, I stripped them down of all logos, took off the business name, I took off all the junk, and we live by a hashtag that I created that just says hashtag who can we serve today. That's the only thing that's on the box, except for two pictures on the like the bookends of the box, right? And one of the pictures is a family, a husband and wife, holding each other like this, staring at their kids running across this perfectly green lawn with the house in the background, the for sale sign. And it's really the dream. It's the husband looking down at his wife being like, our family has this wonderful place. And she's like, oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Look at the security, we have. Look at how safe this home is for our children, that they're running around freely and happy, like that subliminally is, I don't care how feminist one might be or whatever. That's like a dream, right?
I was gonna say, why is it got to be the man like providing all that? Like it could be the woman. Come on.
That's that goes.
So real quick, a couple people are asking about compliance. Does it have to have a logo on it? I think that's a great question for your company compliance officer. Dino runs his own company, so he's following his rules that he set. So you all want to, wherever you work, make sure they're okay with whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, look, inside there's a letter and it has a logo on it and it has all the disclosure stuff, right? But the box itself is just clean. And I value that more than having Cutco knives with your name and logo on it. I mean, you don't need to do all that. So anyways, we've created, I went to the seminar, I created this. I came back, I asked my processor at the time, who had been with me for a while, and he was a dude, and we were struggling a little bit. And I said, hey, do you love our clients? And he looks at me like with this look of horror. And I said, might be a little too strong of a word for you. Do you like our clients? He looks at me and he's like, what do you want me to say? And he was kind of like old school Ditech days, where it just turn and burn type of thing. And even though he wasn't really like that, he still had a little bit of the mentality. And he's like, no, not really. He goes, I'm just trying to get my check and move on, And he'd been in the business for years and years. He was burned out on it. So that's when I created hashtag who can we serve today. And that's when I started creating, how do we start showing these clients that we love on them, right? Like we got to show them. And what I came up with was a string of things. It started kind of small and it's grown significantly, but here's how it works. We get a referral. I have a phone call. We send out a needs list. They send in their stuff. We approve them. The second it gets approved, we send out our first box. In that box is a head scratcher, a couple packets of Tylenol, and these little plastic baggies with stickers on them that say chill pills, and they're filled with M&Ms. And there's a letter in there that says buying a house can be stressful for a lot of people, but don't worry, you've hired the right team to take care of everything. However, in the event that you do find yourself getting stressed, go ahead and give yourself a little scalp massage and just try and relax. If that doesn't work, take a Tylenol. And if that doesn't work, take a chill pill and call me in the morning. Right. And it's simple, it's fun, and it's kind of funny. And people call and say, thank you. And what a great way to get started. And, I already used the head scratcher. So that happens immediately when we pre-approve them. And then if they make an offer and they don't get the offer, they get another box. And that box has a couple like bath bombs in there. So it just smells good the second you open the box. And it has a box of calming tea on it. And in another letter, giving them encouragement that, it just means it wasn't the right house for you. There's a better one around the corner type of thing. And currently, those are the only two boxes we have for the pre-campaign. But the second they get into escrow, they immediately get another box. And that box has 3 bottles of champagne, mini bottles. And it has 2 glass flutes, and it says, congratulations, you found your new house. You know, we've pinpointed, there's a few other things, but we've pinpointed 3 opportunities for you to celebrate. The first one is right now, because you just found your new home. So cheers to that. The second one is when we're just about done with the process and you're going to be signing your loan documents. So don't forget to toast to that. And then of course, when Todd hands you the keys to your new home, then that's a celebration that can't be missed. Cheers to you and to your new home. And they literally get that the very next day. If they get an offer accepted on Monday, on Tuesday morning, it's on their front doorstep. And it's just, I can't tell you how awesome it is and how much they love it and how good it is to start the process off with a celebration as opposed to, you know, stress and worry and chaos. It needs to start with you, the loan officer. If you are stressed and have chaos in your life, it's going to carry on to everybody else. So learn how to manage your life and learn how to manage your business properly. And this could be a very good experience for everybody if it's done properly. All right. The second box during campaign goes out like 5 days before loan docs. And it's basically some squeeze balls, a couple pens, and 2 packets of Tylenol. It says, okay, we're almost to the finish line. You're going to be signing your life away here, you know, shortly. So, but don't worry, you know, Dino's going to be contacting you to go over all the loan documents before you actually sign. But in the meantime, start strengthening your forearm, practicing your signature, and don't forget to take the Tylenol before you go in to sign. And then the third box is the funding campaign, and that goes out like just before funding. And it's a bigger box, and it's got in there toilet paper. It's got a roll of paper towels. It's got a bunch of granola bars. It's got a $20 gift card to Domino's Pizza. It has toothpaste, mouthwash, toothbrush, and a bunch of other little goodies. And it's the moving day box. Keep this box separate from everybody else. Keep it in your car. These are some of the goodies to keep you and your family going. And then that campaign's over and the funding campaign starts. And now it starts immediately because right when it was at Loan Docs, we already ordered the first gift. The first gift is a stamp with their new address on it. And, you know, it's the nice one. It's not the cheap one. And it has like, you know, the Bookspan family, right? With the new address on it, like a circular motion. That goes out immediately at funding. And then 30 days later, they get the bamboo laser engraved bamboo cutting board with their family name on it and the established date. I'm going to pause for a second because we hit them hard in a very short period of time. And I always say the reason why we do that is because, and Todd, I'm going to ask you this question. When was the last time you saw a Ford Pinto?
It's been a while.
Not a long time.
Which Todd are you asking?
You got 2 Todds on here now. Todd Heath has joined
Oh,
us.
Todd, I'm sorry. Hey, sorry, guys. Yeah, hi. I'm a little tardy.
Please, everybody, welcome Todd Heath. Since
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm just kidding. So, what was your question, Dino?
So, when was the last time you guys saw a Ford Pinto? It's been a while, right? All right. Well, I guarantee if all of a sudden you developed a fascination for Ford Pintos, you'd see one within the next 5 days. Now, reason why I'm saying that is because if you're sitting in a crowded restaurant and you can't even hear your spouse next to you talking, you know, that's pretty normal if it's a loud, crowded restaurant. But if you're buying a house or thinking about a kitchen remodel or doing something of that nature, you can hear all about the color patterns 5 tables away. You just can, right? So when you're in the middle of buying this house, you know, we hit you hard because while you're looking, while you're in escrow, and 30 days after escrow is the optimal time to be all in on their emotions. And that's the best time to get a referral. So love on them hard for that, like hopefully a 60 to 90 day window, and make sure you hit them. And you hit them hard with a lot of love. And I promise you, you'll probably get a gift within the 90 days. So then after that, we move on and they get a gift every 3 months. They get a picture frame, and we try and find, you know, a fun picture on Facebook that we put in So like let's just use Todd Bookspan again, just because it's fun. Let's say for Halloween one year, he was dressed as a Martian, or an alien or something like that, or a ladybug, better yet. He was dressed as a ladybug and his wife made him do it. Well, we would find that picture and we would put it in the picture frame. And you might feel, if you're listening, you might feel like, oh, that's a little too much. Well, I'll tell you what, if you've created a relationship with them, it's really not, because you can make fun of each other. That's part of having a relationship with somebody. And you will develop a tighter relationship with that person if you do that. So that's one of the gifts. The other gift, actually, the 3-month gift is a popcorn box. We have like those red and white popcorn holders. We put a couple of things of microwavable popcorn in there, some red vines, and we say, now that you've had a chance to unpack and unwind, enjoy a popcorn movie on us. Second gift is the picture frame. The third gift is a puzzle. We go into Facebook again. We look for a picture of hopefully like something with their dog or their kids or both, and we turn it into a 250-piece puzzle. Because I don't know about you guys, but if your kid, one of my kids loves putting puzzles together, and if he saw a puzzle with his face or his dog on it, oh my gosh, right? Like he would just be going crazy over it. Forget the dinosaurs, they're out. This is now the best puzzle we have in the house. And when a parent sees that, they go crazy over it. So I get pictures of families putting together puzzles, and then the completed puzzle with kids smiling from ear to ear. And that's a great feeling. And then finally, the 1-year anniversary, they get a bouquet of flowers. As of recent, we started feeling a little weird sending single dudes bouquet of flowers. So now we have engraved pocket knives with their name on it for their 1-year anniversary. And then it stops. Unless you are a 4 or 5-star client, then we convert and we go to a company called Client Giant that a good friend of mine owns, and we stick them on a quarterly gift giving campaign for perpetuity, unless something happens that they get downgraded. So every year we review the list, and if we, like last past year, we reviewed it, we downgraded 11 people. Save the money, get rid of the ones that aren't deserving anymore, but we added, another whole group. So that's what we do.
That is amazing. Just love that story and heard it before. And I think it's ultimately, the opportunity for you to think about it, right? It's, Deborah mentioned it last week, Jeremy and Dave all got nerdy talking about their Tesla experience and how it took 13 minutes and they were in and out. That's not Dino's process. That's not the experience that Dino has created for his clients. And I think in the end, there's no right experience. It's whatever you want to provide for your clients. You just have to think through in today's day and age. As Dino said, he's not going to out tech Quicken loans. I mean, you're just not. And so I think it's something that everyone should consider thinking about, how are you going to do business going forward?
And one thing I want to just piggyback on this, and I know we only have 5 minutes left, but Todd, Heath, you have been, following and you studied what Dino has done. And I know y'all both mentioned y'all are brokers. And I think it was Sales Mastery where you had mentioned when you don't work for like a big corporation, and you may feel like you're not part of like a huge team, but you basically took his gifting strategy and then put it in this nice booklet. Is this what you take to builders? And for those who don't know, Todd, Heath, you're like I think Todd Duncan introduced you as like the best guy with relationship building, but you also have builder accounts. So I was curious when you created this.
He's also been voted the sexiest man alive in the mortgage industry.
Oh yeah.
It was only Dino and I that voted. So thank you for your support. I appreciate that. Yeah, now, what Dino has, and I'm so sorry that I missed the time today. So my bad. But what Dino put together was so, to me, just exactly what I wanted to do. So it was just nice not to have to go recreate it. I just took exactly what he had and duplicated it, and maybe put our own little twists on it a little bit. That little brochure you have is for agents and for builders that we meet with, just to show them what we do. It's funny. I've got a builder account that I've done for 4 years, and probably now for the last year or so, I've been doing this very thing with these gifts, and they kind of knew about it. I had lunch with one of the presidents yesterday, and it was just funny because she really had no clue, I guess, exactly all the things that we did. And when she finally took the time to really listen to it, she was just absolutely blown away. I tell her, I said, I get probably texts 2 to 3 times a week at least. And I'm going to start capturing those texts just to have them, of all the people that text me to say, where did you get that picture? Or I absolutely love the puzzle, or my kid, just like Dino said, is just dying over this puzzle. So sometimes, to be honest, I'm not involved. My assistant's the one that puts all those together. So I have to go to her and say, what picture was it that we sent these guys? And then I laugh and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's pretty funny. Most of the time I know, but sometimes I don't.
You're such a dude.
Oh, he's a team leader, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's the bottom line, right? You have other people on your team that make those decisions
100%.
for you. And so
Yep.
obviously, guys, we're going to run a few minutes late, and obviously we're going to have Todd Heath back again and be able to
Sounds good.
hear all he does for all of you. What else do you want to make sure we get out, Deborah, before we let everyone go on and be productive?
Well, what I love about this is to me, with where the future of marketing is headed, and really any business. I mean, Todd Duncan had said, transactions will make you a lot of money, but relationships will make you a fortune. So it's about having a strategy. And I think for those, whether you're brand new starting off, I love Dino's best tip of categorizing your database with the stars, so that you can be super intentional, but also how this will fuel your marketing moving forward, because they're the ones posting the picture of like, dude, look at this awesome box I got from my lender, and they're tagging the lender, where then you're able to show, that trust and leverage someone else's database on their social network, because they're your raving fans. And so I just want to express how relationships, rock, paper, scissors, at the end of the day, what's the ultimate trump card? It is relationships. And so make sure, as you're starting off this year, and a lot of you are getting back to maybe meeting with agent relationships, rekindling some of those that maybe you had forgotten about over the last couple of years because you were so busy with refis. If you go deep and you earn that trust and you have that bond and that relationship where that there's that loyalty, I do think you can earn a fortune in this business. And the two best guys I've seen do this is Dino and Todd Heath. I mean, even when I was sick with viral meningitis, I was getting gifts. I had just met Todd, and I'm getting gifts sent to me where I felt so uniquely seen and felt significant and felt like I belonged to something, that someone cared about me. And I was surprised, like I would get this gift and I'm like, oh, like it just makes you feel so special. And to me, that's a human constant, regardless of what happens with technology, that's going to stay true forever. We want to feel special. So that's what I wanted to make sure that we hit hard on today, Todd. And I know Dave also he couldn't be here today. Do you want to go into a little bit about his event that's at 1 at?
Yeah, one Pacific time. I can't believe we waited till the end to tell you this, but it's kind of there's a guy named Mitch Kiter. So some of you have heard of him. He is considered to be one of the best industry attorneys with regards to regulations. And Dave's going to be chatting with him about kind of what we're seeing going on in this landscape, right? The joint ventures with real estate agents. What else are you talking about, Deborah? I know there's a fancy post you did earlier, but it's going to be all the regulation stuff. It's something that's probably geared towards the people in the C-suite, but I think the rest of you loan officers need to hear it. So when you ask questions on these calls about compliance, Mitch is one of the kings of compliance, and that's really where you'll absolutely learn. And I feel like as a loan officer, you need this knowledge too. So Dave will be doing it live in the Facebook group at 1 Pacific, and then certainly you'll be able to watch it afterwards on the YouTube channel. But definitely, Dave would love some of you to be here and, giving some props and asking some questions.
Yes, so it's at 1 p.m. today, and it looks like it's mostly around like MSAs, joint ventures, reverse mortgage analysis, things like that. I definitely think we need to have Todd on again. We'll make sure that he can go over kind of what the past the salt and what the salt means as part of his brand. And we'll go deeper in how he builds relationships. But I want to thank both Dino and Todd for being here. Todd, the slacker as usual, who was late, got the time mix. I'm just kidding, Todd.
I didn't have
But
Danny involved.
Yeah, I really appreciate both of you, and just anyone who wants to hear their segment from Sales Mastery. These two gentlemen were fortunate enough to be on day one with Denise and I, where we got to meet. And they are like brothers. The way that they go at each other is hilarious. We need to do one where it's like Denise and I and you two. That would be great. But thank you for what y'all do, just for the community and the standards that you have, and for loving on people and caring enough to give good advice and to make them feel special. I think at a time where, we have technology and most would say we're more connected than ever, there's so many people who don't feel connected and don't know where they belong. And so they need someone to kind of wrap their arms around them and kind of help them. And so if you're new to the industry, rewatch this, please give it a like, comment, give some aha moments that you had. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And then I'll let Dino and Todd, anything y'all want to end with?
Yeah, Dino, what else, what do you want to add as we send everyone off to get productive?
Yeah, I'll leave it with, you have to be good at your trade, but it really doesn't matter how good of a loan officer you are if your phone won't ring. So you got to be better at marketing than you got to be at numbers. And then when it comes to being good at your trade, you just need to be the best, but that's not what the main focus is, right? Like, you have no business even being in this business if you can't be the best at what you do. And what I mean by that is not just being good at numbers and being able to do loans, but if everybody else is doing, 30-day escrows, figure out how to do them in 15. Be better than everybody. There's no reason why you need to have loan contingencies. Like, I still can't even fathom this loan contingency thing. In the old days, husband and wife would go walk into an open house, say, oh my gosh, I love this house, go talk to the agent, write up an offer, then you get your contingencies to figure out the loan. You can't even go see a house unless you're pre-approved. Are you really pre-approved or are you not? So if you're a loan officer and you're pre-approving people and you're telling them they have to have loan contingencies, that means you're doing a terrible job. Get rid of those, be better than everybody else. Close in 15 days, figure out how to do it, whatever it takes. And if your company can't do it, then maybe you need to move.
Love it. All right, Todd, is there anything you want to add before we will definitely have you back, Todd Heath. I can't wait to hear more about you, but is there anything you want to add before I close this thing out?
No, Todd, good to meet you. Relationships. I think being good is obviously huge, but man, those people are loyal when they know that you love them and would do anything for them. I'm talking your partner relations and of course your clients. So to me, it's all about relationships, and Dino's one of the best out there.
I love it. All right. So you know where I'm going to go with this group. First and foremost, thanks for being here. If you got value out of it, make sure that you hit down below and give it a like or share it. If you haven't subscribed yet to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, make sure you do it. We didn't talk much about social media, but make sure if you have social media needs, you reach out to none other than Deborah Byrd at info@plugandplaysm.com. You should be following her on social. She does such great free information for those of you who aren't ready to hire her, but I think most of you probably should just hire her. And I'm going to tell you this, you've got to take action. You just invested a little bit of it over an hour, whether you watch this live or you watch on YouTube, and there were some great ideas. And what I would encourage you to do is actually just sit back for a few minutes and really think through what Dino said, right? Are you going to be the person who competes with a link and competes against the big guys, or are you going to think about maybe being someone who builds relationships? That was my big aha, as well as just all the rest of it. So on behalf of Dave, the rest of the crew at Mortgage Coach, Deborah Byrd from Plug and Play SM, and myself, Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye. Thank you.